Hey folks, so it's Saturday, November 23rd, and I decided to take a quick walk through a local bush in my neighborhood that I've been going through ever since I was a kid. It's a little later in the season, but I figured why not go around and see what kind of edibles I still might be able to find throughout the winter and kind of see where it goes. Let's get into it. So, I've come across a piece of birch bark. I'm sure a lot of you can identify birch or birch bark, but I figured I'd show you on this piece so we start damaging a tree. But whenever people talk about eating the birch bark, what they're usually going for, hard to hold the camera and do this, is often this inner layer of the pink bark is often what they're going for, you know? So that can often be stripped off and used as, I guess, a spaghetti. I believe it's boiled down and often used like a spaghetti or whatever. Interesting little fact. I'll get back to you on some nutritional info on that if I can find some, but that's usually what they're going for. So, as well as the inner barks of birch, as I mentioned, you can also eat the inner barks of other trees, I do believe, like maple or certain types of pine. I'll look a bit more into that because it's been a while since I've looked into that information. So I'd have to look for what kinds of species of trees you can eat the inner barks to. But you can also eat the pine leaves to a lot of evergreens like jack and spruce, all of that. So I mean, something to think about. In fall or winter time when things are starting to look a little more scarce in the foraging world, you know? So, throughout the woodlands of North America, you'll often find little patches of grass, even this late in the year. And I mean, it is edible. I've tried it. Might not be as great as, say, like lettuce or spinach, but I mean, it's edible and it'll give you some nutrients at least, right? But I've also noticed I found some oak leaves here. So I figured maybe I'll look around for a few minutes and see if I can find an oak nut. Maybe try starting to grow one, see what happens. I'll let you know if I find one. So I was lucky enough to finally come across a small little handful. There's probably a few more here of the oak nuts I was looking for, the seeds. And yeah, maybe I'll try growing some of them, see what happens, right? But I'm gonna throw them in my pocket. But another little interesting fact is that these can also be ground down to make flour, if I'm not mistaken. So this could be a flour substitute. Could probably try the coffee substitute. I don't know, but I've never really tried that myself. But let's see what happens with them. Maybe I'll try growing a couple of them. Oh, the old lookout. Surrounded by acres of nothing more than, of course, more cattails. And as anybody knows, cattails often, well, always means you're walking into a marsh, which means a pretty wet environment. So if you're ever harvesting the stuff to eat, obviously you might be wanting to wear the proper footwear if you don't want wet socks. If any of you are wondering what bush I'm in, I'm sure a lot of you watching this probably already know where I am. But for those of you who don't, uh, take a guess because I mean, like, this is going on the internet, and I don't need to be posting where I'm at right now either. So this is more for you know, interest in education and nature than it is about that. So I hope you're enjoying so far. So this bush is actually known to have fiddleheads in certain spots further on in the springtime. But since any of the ferns that produce fiddleheads are obviously going to be died back by this point. I'm not gonna bother going that far and looking for them because we're not gonna find too many of them. Oh, well, I'll be mistaken. Here's a small one, I do believe, dying back a bit. But I mean, yeah. But I'll probably do another video in the spring, so I'll probably touch up on that in that video.